It would be funny if it wasn't so terrifying. Following the crazy exchange between a teacher and a pupil in an East Sussex school over the idea of a female pupil calling herself a cat, a flurry of anecdotes are flooding in about similar pupils in other schools. The woman known as Britain's strictest head teacher, Catherine Birbalsingh, who runs the truly inspirational state school Michaela, which has an intake of some of the most deprived children in the country, but through discipline and traditional values gets many of them into Oxford and Cambridge, has said that this cat story is not made up. She tweeted the following. She said, "People are saying I'm silly for believing the story about a cat. I've been hearing about cats plural for weeks and months from different teachers in person who have worked in schools with cats in the classroom. I've also had direct messages from parents with various stories." This is what happens when Wokism, in other words, extreme political correctness or cultural progressivism, is left unchecked. We've put up with biological men participating in female sport, entering women's bathrooms and rape crisis centres. And this madness reached its nadir in Scotland with a double rapist who calls himself Isla Bryson accommodated in a women's prison. You couldn't make it up. By accepting the fiction that you can change your biological sex, or in the case of the little cat girl, what species you belong to, we have created a monster. A monster in which primary school children are being asked whether they think they're a boy or a girl and are changing their name or even their pronouns without parental knowledge or permission. Rishi Sunak is introducing a law to stop that from happening. Fair play. But I'll be honest, the horse has bolted. Wokism is a terrifying cult. If you do not follow its bizarre and irrational scripture, you will be vilified, attacked, and excommunicated. Its great power comes from the mistaken idea that they are the nice people. Appropriating kindness has been their most genius move. But of course, they are anything but. They are censorious thugs who threaten violence against women for standing up for their sex-based rights. They're against freedom of speech and expression. And they seek to end careers and destroy livelihoods for anyone who doesn't accept their upside-down, topsy-turvy, biology-denying, flat-earth worldview. The problem with this dark, woke stuff is none of it makes sense, and that will ultimately be its undoing. It doesn't make sense that the evil scourge of racism is solved by segregating people or deciding, as is the credo of controversial critical race theory, that you are racist based upon the colour of your skin. It's like the great Martin Luther King never happened. But this contested ideology is being taught in many schools as fact, labelling British children of colour eternal victims. I don't see any of our wonderful, diverse British children as victims. I see them as the embodiment of our future greatness. This is a disease of the West. Islamic countries, for example, won't have any of this nonsense. But we're taking it all lying down. Kids in some schools are being taught there are over 100 genders, and you can call yourself whatever you're feeling like that day. In doing so, we are breeding a hellish new generation of self-indulgent narcissists. Children who do not adhere to a gender stereotype and who were likely going to become gay when they grew up are being diagnosed as transgender. Children with mental health issues like autism or bipolar disorder are being told the answer is they're in the wrong body. This comes at a price, with 1,000 parents now considering legal action against the NHS Tavistock Clinic for causing irreversible damage to the bodies of their children. Tip of the iceberg. What's happening in too many of our schools is the normalisation of woke ideology. At best, it's brainwashing or grooming. At worst, it's child abuse. At every level in society, in our public institutions, our schools and within corporations, it's time for an all-out war on woke. A majority of the British public who have been quiet for too long and hoped this would go away must now speak out, especially parents. This cat story proves how far we have waded into insanity. So why don't we flip this logic on its head, OK? Bear with me. Let's talk about how cats think of themselves. This is a little video of my cat, Harry, named after the Spurs footballer, not the Prince. I had a chat with Harry earlier, and he told me he's not actually a cat at all. No. Would you believe he identifies as the governor of the Bank of England? That's right, he thinks he's the governor of the Bank of England. He tells me that he would have raised interest rates a long time ago. He told me quantitative easing got us into this mess. There you go, he's not a fan of inflation. He likes nibbles instead. Do you see how bizarre all this cat stuff is? It's a warning. We are a whisker away from the total breakdown of our society. The time to act is meow. And if we don't call this out, we're the real pussies. I'm sorry, but we're laughing about the cat story, but I think it's a line in the sand. I think it's a red flag. Now, by the way, if there are girls or boys at school who identify as a furry creature, OK, they need love and support and counselling. They don't need judgment. They don't need to be attacked. Those who require judgment are the teachers that propound this nonsense. What's your view? Mark at gbnews.com.